Keep those hands going, everybody. Do you realize the gift of this musical team that you have here? I am always honored and excited to be in their presence. For me, I'm a musician as well, and one of the places that I first discovered, not that you have to find God, because God is all that there is, right? Right? All right, come on, let's a little conviction. I don't know if it's God. Harmony in music. As a very, very young child, there was something, I would literally get, goosebumps and goose skin, and there was some sort of vibration and frequency that happened in harmony. And to bring us in a little bit into today's talk, for those of you who have ever studied music, and there's something called counterpoint, sometimes you have discord, and it makes the harmony sweeter. I woke up this morning to a text from a dear friend, a former member of the spiritual communities here in Chicago, with a great message in our prayer circle that I thought I would start with before I get into our talk today. And it was something that they saw. If you don't know Marianne Williamson, some people like her, some people don't like her, but she's great. She's a woman of principle. And this is what she wrote this morning for all of us in the United States. Dear God, we need a miracle. May your spirit be upon us, on the city of Los Angeles, and upon the circumstances that have brought us here. We pray for all the people affected by this. Please touch the heart of Donald Trump and soften his view of everyone. Send your angels to quell the violence in our hearts and on our streets. There are angels to your left and angels to your right. There are angels in front of you and angels behind you. Go forth in confidence. Go forth in peace. Let all of us send our love to Los Angeles, to the immigrants, to the protesters, and yes, to the ICE agents, to the National Guard, to the police, and to the president. Only love can cast out fear. Praying for divine protection for everyone. God bless us all. And so it is. Amen. That's the type of voices that I want to hear more of on the news. Yeah? Okay. So, this existential question. Holy crap, 25 minutes. Let's go. I better put the timer on because I got more than 4 pages today. I'll try to do my best, Reverend Amy. All right. The right to be, claiming your place in the universe. It was addressed in the news this morning. Claiming our place to be in this country, in our neighborhoods, in our families. In the reading, you belong to the universe in which you live. You are one with the creative genius back of this vast array of ceaseless motion. I'm going to try to do a little bit more reading today to keep me focused because there's a lot that I want to share. This week, we affirm and celebrate our right to belong. It is something we all need to hear. And during this Pride Month, this message gets focused on the 2S LGBTQIA plus community. But the beautiful thing is that when there's a message that's based in principle, it's something that we all need to hear. And that message simply is, you belong here. You belong. 2 very powerful words, like thank you. We all need to say these words to one another a little more often than we do. So please let us all hear today's message and all of the messages of this month and beyond. You matter. You belong. We see you. We need you. I love you. You matter to me. Your presence here makes things better. The 2S LGBTQIA+ acronym stands for Two-Spirit, Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer or Questioning, Intersex, and Asexual. It is an expanded version of the common acronym LGBTQ, adding the 2S for Two-Spirit, which is a term used in some Indigenous and First Nations people. The plus at the end indicates that the acronym is meant to be inclusive of all sexual orientations and gender identities, not just those specifically listed, as the expression of life and the expression of God is not bound by a certain number of expressions. In the philosophy of religious science, which is what we embody here at Cityside, the vision and purpose statements and mission statements of the larger organization that we're connected to, Centers for Spiritual Living, and then here, we read it this morning at Cityside, we state some version of these words from Ernest Holmes that we're reading today. You belong to the universe in which you live, period. There's no question about that. You belong to the universe in which you live, and you are one with the creative genius, the life intelligence, the law of life that is in back of that, which gives way to all ceaseless creation and motion. This is the principle from which all practice, prayer, living, and work ideally moves from. This teaching and philosophy charges the individual with knowing this for themselves and all of life. That I, that you, that we have the right and the freedom to be who we are, as we are. We are all children, and if you don't like that word, we are all expressions of the same universe, spirit, presence, God. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is your life and my life now, to use a little bit more of Ernest Holmes' language. Now, let's shift a little bit from the 1920s to 60s, where Ernest Holmes did most of his writing and speaking, to the 60s and beyond, to Martin Luther King Jr., who once said that a threat to justice anywhere, is a threat to justice everywhere. So let's expand that for our talk today. A threat for anyone to be anywhere is a threat for anyone to be everywhere. As members of our world who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, or otherwise, continue to have their right to be threatened, make no mistake, this isn't only a threat on some of our community, is it a threat on all of us? If we are one, then we are one. If someone's right to be is questioned, nullified, or legally compromised, this is a threat on everyone's right to be. I realize that the paradigm of the world has and is in a state of shifting in relationship to sexual orientation, right? We're catching up with God. God's already here doing the expressing, and we're trying to figure it out. I realize that the paradigm of the world has and is significantly shifting in relationship to gender identity. And we must be very, very, very careful as we come to terms with this shifting paradigm that we don't let or encourage fear or doubt within ourselves to inform our choosing and our living. However, it is quite apparent that this is the state of the world today. Would you agree? Fear, whether we think it drives our personal life or not, it is the most common motivator in our households, families, schools, businesses, communities, governments, and policymaking. The sum total of the world's thoughts and motivating scenarios, and oftentimes we settle for what? The lesser of two evils. We what if our way as opposed to declare our way. I don't say this to judge us, but to get really sober to the general way we operate as a collective humanity. Now, there isn't a right or a wrong way to embody our teaching and philosophy and practice. However, I want to challenge us in our community, in our larger organization, to embrace this idea and notion offered by Martin Luther King Jr. That a threat to or a doubt in someone's right to be anywhere threatens our right to be everywhere. And I'm using the word doubt very intentionally here. Let me read a definition of spiritual mind treatment or prayer to explain why. This is found in the Science of Mind textbook in the glossary. Treatment, spiritual mind treatment, or prayer, is the time, the process, and the method necessary to changing of our thought. Prayer and treatment is the clearing of negation, the clearing of doubt and fear, and causing our consciousness to perceive the ever-presence of God. The clearing of doubt and fear. Has anyone ever experienced doubt and fear? If you haven't, you are not human. There is nothing wrong with doubt and fear, but think of it as the coagulants, the fatty materials, the cholesterol on the walls of your consciousness that doesn't allow the ever-presence of God to flow freely. So what is our job? To know the ever-presence of God. And if anything does get in the way, if the hallways do get smeared by this doubt and fear, then we do what we can to help remove it so that God can flow as it is designed to flow, freely. And if treatment is the time and effort we put into knowing the truth and denying doubt and fear, then as a practitioner of science of mind, and I'm not talking only about those who have gone through class. If you are here listening, if you are online, greetings, salutations to those of you in the virtual space. If you are listening to this, then in some way, shape, or form, you are a conscious practitioner of this law. You are a practitioner of science of mind. And we are called to not only speak and know the truth and deny it in our mind, we embody it in our treatments, but also in our living. Prayer is not something that just happens in a room or a closet by yourself. Prayer is your life. Treatment. We are here to treat life. We are here to remember that God is the ever-presence everywhere we go. So just like Marianne Williamson didn't shame anyone in what she had to say, she took that opportunity of what's happening in LA to affirm that there's only one power and presence, and to remind others and to welcome all of us to continue to hold that as the truth above all things. Catching where I'm going? We all have the right to be in the universe, but we forget. There's lots of stories out there. Anyone have a story in their life that they know doesn't serve them? Does anyone have a family, whether it's biological or otherwise? Then you've got a story. Those people. And those are the stories that continue to guide and direct us, sometimes in a good way, oftentimes in a not so great way. And our work and our living is not to go back in time and change those people, to change our history, but to remember some sort of truth that's greater than that story, correct? So that's all we're being invited to do in our living. We have never, ever not had the right to be. But we've got these collective stories that are ingrained and almost glamorized in our history, that the news glamorizes and affirms over and over and over again. So we need to be in the practice of remembering the ever-presence of God. Just because we may call ourselves progressive doesn't mean that we don't have a story. Doesn't mean that we don't have biases. It doesn't mean that we don't have shaming tendencies or exclusionary practices. We are all practitioners of the principles of science of mind and spirit. So we must be in the practice of telling the story of the truth that there's only one thing happening. And not only tell it, but to live it in our experience. We all have the right to be, but I don't think that this belief or idea is enough. And I'll own that this might be a personal interpretation of our teaching. If having the right to be was enough, then we would all be free, wouldn't we? The proof in the pudding is the behavior of how we live. The idea is not enough. I use this analogy all the time. The idea of doing sit-ups and having a six-pack doesn't give you a flat, chiseled stomach. You got to practice, people. You got to get down on the floor of life and do a little bit of resistance and meet life where it is. Millions of people on the planet, they have the right to be, they have the right to express, and yet they aren't actually expressing their true, authentic selves, either out of fear or out of threat of their very existence. There are systems, laws, and even legislation, along with our social norms, that suppress their capacity to be. Does anyone consider themselves a student? We are here to learn. This past week, I was in a very, very powerful learning situation. I was on a retreat in Nebraska with a number of school psychologists, licensed clinical social workers, educators, administrators, and we were all exploring how do we bring the idea of restorative practices and restorative justice into the current system of education, which is all about, yes, wanting our students to learn. Did anyone ever have a teacher shame them in class? That still happens. It happens every single day. Shame does nothing but destroy our nervous system and shut down our capacity to learn. Has anyone ever been shamed by their family? Has anyone ever been shamed at work? Has anyone ever been shamed in a spiritual community? I know I have. Shame does nothing but shut down our capacity to know the truth that the ever-present living presence of God is all that there is. It is the very thing that seeds, propagates, and stimulates more doubt and fear in our life. We may use it as a manipulative tool to get someone to do and behave the way that we want them to behave, but don't get it twisted. You've done nothing to actually do anything to help that person stay in their body, to stay in the room, and to learn. What we explored this past week was how do we keep all of us in the room? We are going to make mistakes. We are going to say things that are inflammatory. We are going to break something. But what can we learn in those moments? If the truth is that we all have the right to be, then we must stand up for ourselves first. And all that we know, right? The things that we affirm, the things that we know, the things that we like. And deny the power of doubt in our communities, in our world, and in our systems. So this is, if any of you have studied religious science, if any of you have has everyone just had a spiritual mind treatment, whether you've said it or someone's done it for you? If you haven't, those of you online, I can't see your hands up or down. There's a very powerful practice in the practice of spiritual mind treatment called denial. And one of the biggest reasons that I loved this teaching when I first came into it is it embraces our humanity. We're going to have doubt. We're going to have fear. And as we say, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. That life is Donald Trump's life now. I know some of you don't want me to say that. There's doubt in your mind. But I deny the power of that doubt. And what I know greater than anything is that there's a love, there is a presence that is calling itself forward in our country like never before. I don't condone the way that he says things and does things. But if I exclude him, I am acting no different than him. There is one life. That life is God's life. That life is your life and my life now. Take a deep breath in. I see some people trying to leave the room. Don't click away yet online. It's going to get better. This is from this thing called You, one of the books that we're focusing on this month, chapter 3. If the law operates automatically, then you do not coerce, concentrate, or compel it. You provide, you give it mental attitudes which it may operate upon. You do not hold the law in place, you hold your ideas in place. This is your individual effort. Your concentration is not on the law because that is already here. It is right where you are. It is with you as well as around you. This concentration is not coercion. It is a good-natured flexibility with yourself, gradually eliminating doubt, fear, and uncertainty and replacing them with certainty, assurance, recognition, and gratitude. We need some sort of framework. We need some sort of system. This was one of the things in the learning in the education this week. Some of you may or may not be familiar with this. There's something called multi-tiered systems of support, MTSS. It's something that is used in a lot of schools to recognize that there is a spectrum of learning, right? And oftentimes we want to give very, very specific and special help to those that may struggle in the classroom. And yes, we should do that. But if there is a foundational giving of support to everyone in a way that supports that uniqueness, then everyone can kind of stay in the room. We don't need as much special support until there's some sort of extreme thing that happens. This is a system that we need to build and grow. And constantly in the educational space, year after year, I love educators. I love educators because they are constantly changing, shifting, being flexible and agile to the best of their ability to figure out how can we better expand the circle of inclusion to help all of the students learn better. What if we brought that same desire to grow a system in our countries, in our families, in our businesses? But it takes work. My friends, we are here to build something new. There's this idea that a lot of people want something that was to be brought back. The good old days, whatever that means. I'm old and getting older, so these are the old days as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing to bring back. The conditions that were the conditions that were. The conditions that are the conditions that are. And we need to build a new system here. We are here to be champions, not only in our minds, our own individual minds, but we are here to be champions in our actions and our behaviors of a world that works for everyone. Not some of us, all of us. Yes? In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes, nothing is real to us unless we make it real. So what are you making real? He goes on to say, nothing can touch us unless we let it touch us. Refuse to have feelings hurt. Refuse to receive anyone's condemnation. In the independence of your own mentality, not someone else's, believe and feel that you are wonderful. This is not conceit. It is the truth. You have the right to be. And not only do you have the right to be, you are wonderful. I was humbled. I was like, I don't know the last time I ever told myself I was wonderful. I was like, I don't know if I've ever told myself I'm wonderful. I'm going to do a little mirror work this week. If you've never done that before, I'm going to wake up every day, look in the mirror and say, Darrell, you've got the right to be here, and you are wonderful. It's hard for me to say that out loud right now. It's really hard for me to say that. There's all sorts of like cringing happening inside of me. Whew. How sad is that? We need to give ourselves and the world more messages that we are wonderful and we have the right to be. I'm going to skip a little bit for the sake of time. Our talk title today was The Right to Be, Claiming Your Place in the Universe. But I want to amend it a little bit and invite us to expand it to The Right to Be, Claiming Our Place in the Universe. All of us. Just shifting that pronoun from your to our all of a sudden gives us the responsibility of claiming the place for not only you and me, but for we to be. We begin with ourselves, and for some of us, that might be where we start. That's where we have to work right now. And then there's some of us where the desire to expand this work into the global family is truly, truly a flame that fires them up every day. Intellectually, we could say, and I think it is, if you've ever heard the phrase spiritual bypass, I think this is a little bit of a bypass. We intellectually say that as I work in my mind, I impact the mind of life, and this is true, and I don't have to go out there and say anything or do anything to anyone. And I believe you don't have to. However, if knowing that we all have the right to be was enough, we would all be free, and yet we aren't. The human habit of fearing must be met with a willingness to know more than the fear of what if. Let me say that again. The human habit of fearing, it's a habit, not an exception, not a right or wrong, it's just a habit. We've cultivated it for millennia. The fact that we have a nervous system where the blood pressure automatically spikes, it's habit. You don't think about it. Someone could walk into this room and smack a book on the floor, and just the sound of that would immediately send all sorts of screaming sirens to your nervous system. You didn't choose that. It's a habit. It's something that keeps you safe. But oftentimes, we let that fear fire and we make it true when it doesn't need to be. We forget that there is one thing happening. What is that? Anyone? God. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you find yourself ifing and butting about it, that is the symbol and the signature that doubt is present. What do you do in the face of doubt in the midst of a spiritual mind treatment? You don't stop praying. Practitioners in the room, what do you do? When doubt comes into your consciousness in the midst of a prayer, what do? You presence it, and you deny its power. You don't try to somehow manipulate it and say that it doesn't exist, because it does. It's there. That's part of the human condition. We have a habit of fearing. But when that doubt enters, we go, and right now there is a doubt alive and present in me, but I know that there is something greater than it. And I deny the power of that doubt and affirm the greatness of love, and affirm the power and presence of possibility. There is no box on the Holy Spirit. It fits in all places. It fits in this place. It fits in that place. It has the right to be. So in the midst of that, to continue, faith is the most important thing in your life. And I don't say faith in like, what is your faith belief? To have faith in the possibility that there's something greater than your doubt. Faith is the most important thing in your life. It is impossible to arrive at the grandeur of its possibility through petty thinking and small ideas. You've got to be bold, y'all. The world is calling for our boldness right now. And lastly, you have no right to expect that you can reap where you have not sown. I've got a garden in my backyard. I don't go and all of a sudden go, oh man, I hope I get honeydew melons, when I haven't gone out there and tried to plant some honeydew melons. But how often are we actually doing that in our lives? Whether it's in our intimate relationships, whether it's in our physical body temple, whether it's in our mental and emotional space, whether it's in our family systems, whether it's in our work, whether it is in any place that we go, oh, I just hope that something happens over there. And we're not doing anything to actually plant something over there that we desire. We must be active in the world. I was drawn to this quote, and I'll invite the music team to come up as we begin to close. When you turn on the news and you see people rioting, when you see smoke, when you see cars burning, let these words from Martin Luther King Jr. give you a different relationship to that than fear. He once said, and this is in the 60s after lots of race riots, that riots are the language of the unheard. When people have had their voice either silenced or they have not been listened to, then they riot. I don't love riots because to me it's ultimately violence, but there reaches a point. Anyone ever played with a little kid and they don't get what they want? What do? They riot. They temper tantrum. They kick and scream until they get your attention. They want to be connected to you. They're not doing it just to get your attention. They want to be connected to you. So when we see riots and screaming and people's fists going up, what if we just asked ourselves, what are we not hearing? What have we turned our back to? And we turn our hearts. We open our hearts. That's where we begin. Open your hearts.
Open wide my heart. Open wide my heart. Open wide my heart. Open wide.
To your heart. Bring your hand to your heart. If it feels good to close your eyes and turn within to your heart, do so. And from this open heart, what I claim and affirm and know is that there is only one heart happening. It is the heart of God. The love, the intelligence, the possibility, and the right to be. God doesn't kind of express over there and not here. God has the right to express everywhere. So the fact that you are God and I am God means that we have the right to express everywhere. That is what I know in my heart today. That is what I open my heart to. And that is what I acclaim for Cityside and those in earshot of this treatment, where we treat our mind to know that we are all together. Even in the behavior of that which we don't understand, even in the behavior that we don't like of others, may we open our hearts and take the responsibility of coming together in love and for love, knowing that there is enough of everything needed on this planet and that none of us are alien. We were all born on this globe. We all belong. May we open our hearts to this truth. And so it is.
Open wide my heart. Open wide my heart. Open wide.